that fight. We will continue to give you update on our campaign to elect Nina Turner to Congress. That's going to be exciting. AOC was there this weekend, so exciting report back from our Ohio team. And Eric Hall is here with us tonight. He is an Our Revolution organizer in Birmingham, Alabama, and he is running for office. We are so proud of our members who are stepping up to lead the fight in the halls of power. Our members are running for office. Exciting. So who is here? Elsa is joining us from Menlo Park, California. Steve is here from Evanston, Illinois. Who else? Linda from Vancouver. Susanna from Illinois. Corinne is here from Our Revolution, Florida, and she is going to speak tonight. She is the newly elected treasurer of the Florida Democratic Party's Progressive Caucus. Exciting work from our members everywhere. Jackie is joining us from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. David is here from Columbus, Ohio. Is going to be cheering on Nina Turner, and Beatrice is joining us from upstate New York. Who else? Mike is here from the headquarters. He is going to be one of our co-hosts, as well as Marissa from Maryland. And I am from New Jersey, so excited to be here with all of you tonight. We have Ed Markey joining us with an update on what's happening with the Senate budget resolution. We have Texas State Representative Vikki Goodwin joining us. She is going to talk to us about what Texas Democrats did about 2 weeks ago when they fled the state, went to Washington to protest the GOP's overhaul of the voting laws in the state. We have Corinne Daly with us, and we have Eric Hall from Our Revolution, Birmingham. We have joining us in the chat, Lucero Mesa. We have Maureen from Saratoga Springs. So great to see both of you. We have, of course, Hal, who is going to put the link to sign up to become an Our Revolution member. The link is in the chat. We can't do this work alone. We need your support. We need the progressive community support to carry out the organizing work that we are doing state by state all across the country. If you're on the phones, don't forget to press *3 and an operator will take your details. So that is my introduction to this amazing call. I'm happy to kick it over to Mike Oles from headquarters, who is going to start the meeting.
Thanks, Anna Marta. Always awesome to have you open this up. And for those who don't know, Anna Marta leads our East Coast Our Revolution team, does an amazing job, but she's pretty tough on some members of Congress when they don't do the right thing. So thank you so much, Anna Marta. Good evening, everybody. It is now 8:30 p.m. East Coast time, 5:30 Pacific, West Coast time. It is Monday night. This is where we gather every Monday night as part of our Our Revolution National Organized to Win call. Again, my name is Mike Oles. I'm a little bit tired this week tonight because we spent the weekend in Cleveland campaigning for Nina Turner with AOC. We'll talk more about that in a second. But again, my name is Mike Oles. I'm the National Field Director of Our Revolution. I'm based here in Indiana in the Midwest. And now I want to go back to HQ and our other co-host tonight. Hey, Marissa, how's it going?
Good. Hi, everyone. I'm Marissa Moormill, and I'm the Our Revolution Membership Director, and I'll be your co-host tonight. And I'm going to kick it back to Mike to get us started.
And look, every week, every Monday night, thousands of our members from coast to coast, from Maryland to California, from Washington to Florida, we gather up, we huddle up, we talk about the road ahead, what happened in the past week, what our strategy and plans are. We talk about transforming the world from as it is into the world as we want it to be and as it should be. That's why we gather every Monday night. And look, we have 5,000 people who join us on average from coast to coast. We have people joining in the Zoom room. We have people on Facebook. And we have a lot of people joining by phone through our Teletown Hall service. If you're on the phone, want to leave a comment, talk to an operator, hit *3. So tonight, hit *3 if you're on the phone, have comments, questions, concerns, want to make a donation, ask a question, *3. We are here to reflect on the week that was, and we're going to plan the fight for the future. And Marissa.
And we believe that change happens from the bottom up. We believe that people that have more power when they act collectively instead of when they act alone. And so that's why our theory of change starts with state and local Our Revolution groups who are committed to doing 4 things. 1, holding politicians accountable. 2, electing progressive champions at every level. 3, fighting for progressive policies. And 4, building a progressive Democratic Party. Bottom line is our members are on a mission. And our change-making grassroots volunteers that were inspired by Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential bid galvanized Americans to stand up and say enough is enough to the profit-driven corporations who are seeking to destroy our people and our planet. And if you want to learn more about the amazing work that our members are doing, be sure to check out the Revolution Report, our movement's weekly update. If you missed this week's edition in your inbox, you can catch up with the link in the chat. And just so you know, there's over 100,000 people who read our newsletters every week, and it's one of the biggest progressive publications in the country. Back to you, Mike.
And it's also totally free, right? It's free.
Yeah, exactly.
Every Saturday morning, drink some coffee, read about the revolution, our revolution. And look, our issues, our people, we're a democratic organization. We survey our members. We ask, what people want to see changed about our politics and about our society. And also, it's our 5-year anniversary coming up. Just here in a few weeks, our revolution, got started by the Bernie Sanders movement after the 2016 presidential campaign. We've gone through the 2020 campaign. In Ohio, we're about to elect our former president to Congress of our revolution. It is an awesome time to be part of our revolution. But our members have ID'd 5 priorities that we want to fight on as a movement together. And you'll hear about those issues tonight and throughout our calls every Monday night and beyond. But right now, we are focusing on voting rights, pass the For the People Act. Let's get healthcare expanded. Let's get Medicare for all. Let's expand Medicare to include as many people as possible in this moment. We got to fight to change. We got to fight for our climate. Our climate is the deep crisis. We've got to make sure that our politics rise to the moment. We got to pay for it somehow. We got to tax the rich, and we got to make sure people have good jobs. Those are what we're talking about as we build our revolution together.
And tonight we're going to be joined by U.S. Senator Ed Markey from Massachusetts, who will update us on the battle over the budget, Texas State Rep Vikki Goodwin on the fight to protect voting rights in Texas and beyond, Eric Hall, who will tell us about his candidacy for city council in Birmingham, Alabama, and our revolution, Florida leader Corinne Daly, who is the new treasurer of the Florida Democratic Party's Progressive Caucus.
Before we get started tonight, our revolution is different from most other progressive organizations. We are entirely grassroots funded. We live and die by small donors, right? We see ourselves as a movement that's funded by tens of thousands of small donors. So please make our lives a little bit easier as a movement. Everybody chips in, right? $5, $10, $15 a month. Become a movement builder. Get your wallet out, get your credit card, your debit card, your check, your Bitcoin, your digital currency. If you're into Dogecoin, whatever you're into, become a member of our revolution. If you haven't already, every bit helps. Chip in, even if it's $1, $5, $10, whatever you can every month. Let's make sure that we have the funds, and organized people, and organized money to make our revolution the real deal every day of the week. So please become a member. And if you're online, please hit *3, and an operator will take your information so that you too can become a sustaining member if you're on the phone with us tonight, *3. Now let's transition to our national political update. A lot going on right now. And we'll hear a lot about this throughout the call, but right now there is a huge transformative battle in the United States Senate. And it's being led by none other than Senate Budget Chair Bernie Sanders. And we are debating a massive budget that Bernie Sanders calls the most significant piece of legislation since the Great Depression, quote unquote. But we have some detractors in our party. Joe Manchin is saying he's got some reservations. So what we got to do is that we know that this reconciliation package will be a difference maker, especially on the top 5 priorities we just talked about: healthcare, climate, taxing the rich, good jobs. It's all right there for us to be won. But Democrats have got to go big, and we got to hold the line.
And the good news is, Oh, yeah. And the good news is that Medicare expansion is on the table. We have the opportunity to lower the Medicare eligibility age from 65. We can add crucial benefits like dental, vision, and hearing, and negotiate lower drug pricing. And this will get us closer to our goal, Medicare for all.
And that's right now, this week, we're organizing actions across the country to expand Medicare. We're going to be targeting lawmakers, West Virginia, New Jersey, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Virginia, other states. We're going to be doing pop-up actions across the state to fight for Medicare expansion. Get that age lowered, get people dental care, ear care, vision care. And we're training our members on how to do this in their own communities. So if you want to get more deeply involved with our revolution and be part of an action this coming week, we're doing trainings tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and then also at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So join us tomorrow if you want to get more deeply connected with our organizing, to do something in your community, to plan something here in August. But join us, sign up in the chat room, join us for our trainings coming up.
And not only does the budget bill give us a shot to expand Medicare, it also gives us a chance to support workers' rights. And that's why our revolution is joined with labor and progressive groups to form the Worker Power Coalition to make sure key elements of the PRO Act, like increasing fines and penalties on union busters, are all included in the bill. And it's time for our elected representatives to finally keep their promises and stand with the American workers, not CEOs, not billionaires. And you can learn more about the Worker Power Coalition using the link in the chat or passtheproact.org.
There's some amazing things going on in the fight for workers' rights, but we have a very tough situation this week in West Virginia. And our revolution and our allies across the country have been raising the alarm bells. The largest manufacturer of affordable, generic pharmaceuticals, critical medicines, is closing down this week. Those jobs, 1,500 jobs, are being shipped out of the country, mostly to India, where workers will go from making almost $90,000 a year on average to probably $900 a year in India. Those jobs are being sucked out of the United States, breaking our supply chains, and going to wreck the economy of West Virginia. And that's why we sent a letter to President Biden calling on him to take urgent action. With the simple stroke of a pen, Joe Biden can do what Donald Trump failed to do. He can use his executive powers to keep this plan open and keep making good, affordable, safe, critical medicines in the United States. The media has started to cover this finally this past week. And I was quoted in The Nation, and my quote was this: the Biden people, the Biden folks should raise holy hell upon the company that's doing this theatrics. That if you want to win in places like West Virginia, Democrats better show up in real ways. Our organizing work has been in the AP, in these Times, other publications. And just yesterday, there was an amazing PBS 30-minute news segment by Laura Flanders, the TV host. We'll put the YouTube connection in the chat room. But Laura Flanders did a 30-minute segment on this yesterday. It is awesome. You hear from our Revolution West Virginia leader, Jenny Craig. So watch that when you got some moments. To spread that out through the internet. And before we go to our last segment here, I just want to thank Eva for becoming a donor tonight. Thank you, Eva. We got to keep on fighting this movement together. Thank you, Eva. We got to keep on fighting for workers' rights, and we got to stop plant closings like what we're seeing in West Virginia this week.
That's right, Mike. Worker rights are important, and so are voting rights. President Biden has made an impassioned plea to stop the GOP rollback of voting rights in battleground states, but he's done little to break through the gridlock in Washington. Taking on the filibuster to pass the For the People Act to harness federal power and end the massive disenfranchisement campaign that's underway. Biden's silence has been deafening on fighting the filibuster to make voting rights a reality, Joseph, our executive director, said to The Hill. And tonight we'll be joined by State Representative Vikki Goodwin to talk about what Democrats must do to defend our democracy.
And we're talking about, our movement together, right? Electing progressive champions. We all know this. Like Nina Turner has been on this very call several times, Her election date, final day to vote, is August 3rd, a week from tomorrow. This past weekend, a lot of us were in Cleveland door knocking and rallying with Nina Turner to kick off the final push on the GOTV campaign. We were joined by AOC. Man, you ever talk about a moment, a spiritual moment? You got AOC and Nina Turner and hundreds of Our Revolution activists and progressives coming together, making this final push. Our revolution, we've made 200,000 voter contacts in this district. Since really back in January, beginning of the year, we actually launched this campaign the day of the insurrection, the crazy insurrection led by the Trump people, right? That's the day that we started organizing for Nina Turner. So we are now 8 months into this thing, and we can win big, pull off a big upset. We are the front runner, but we got to finish strong. So get involved with this campaign. They're phone banking every night. If you're in Ohio, they're door knocking. We are going to be on the ground on Saturday and through Tuesday, the election day. Our Bernie Sanders, Cori Bush, Keith Ellison, they're all going to be rallying with Nina on Saturday in Cleveland. So show up if you're nearby. Let's hang out on Saturday, but let's knock doors, make phone calls, win this race, finish strong. It's a very exciting moment to see the former president of Our Revolution become the next member of Congress.
And as we continue to fight for Nina, we also need to continue to fight to end fossil fuel subsidies. We've gotten some of our biggest champions on board, making sure fossil fuel subsidies is part of the ending fossil fuel subsidies is part of the reconciliation. But if you think Exxon and other fuel companies are going to take it lying down, you haven't been paying attention. We're going to make sure that our elected officials in Congress hold the line on this critical environmental issue. And Our Revolution, Massachusetts, has already taken action. Last night, they held a call on ending fossil fuel subsidies, and they're working towards pushing Representative Richie Neal, in the chairman of the powerful Ways and Means Committee in the U.S. House, which reviews and makes recommendations on the budget.
Man, it is a moment right now to be a progressive organizer and to be a progressive activist. Got a lot of work to do and a lot of victories to be won, especially in the next few weeks and few months. And we're going to hear a lot about that tonight. We're going to be joined shortly by Senator Markey from Massachusetts, one of our heroes and one of the great voices of the United States Senate. But I think he has yet to join. So let's go down to Texas. Marissa, do you want to take it away? Let's go not to Texas because some folks had to leave Texas because of the voter suppression going on. But let's go to Marissa. Take it away.
Sure. Well, I'm excited to introduce our next guest, Representative Vikki Goodwin. Winning the budget battle is critical, but it's not the only one. Voting rights is also one of our top 5 priorities. We must confront Republicans' evil doing and efforts to disenfranchise tens of millions of Americans. And we're doing more than talking the talk. Our state chapters are mobilizing on the ground to protect voting rights from Colorado to West Virginia. And Texas Republicans are trying to pass new restrictive voting measures. Texas progressives, including Representative Vikki Goodwin, literally led the charge to DC to defend our democracy. And after the Texas Dems left the Lone Star State, the Texas House lacked a quorum, and the GOP's anti-democratic legislation was blocked, at least for now. Our democracy is too important to sit back and watch the Republicans cram down a bad election bill, and we're heading to D.C. to ask Congress to pass the For the People Act, said OR-endorsed progressive champion Vikki Goodwin. And here to tell us more about the fight is Vikki herself. Welcome, Representative Goodwin. We are happy to have you. Please tell us a little bit about what's going on.
All right. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I am in Washington, D.C. tonight instead of Texas, my home state. It's been 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago today, 57 of us Democrats got on planes, hopped in cars, and crossed the country to Washington, D.C. The reason being, the Republicans have the numbers in Texas to pass this election bill that has so many different facets of voter intimidation. It would cut back on voters going to the polls. And so we gave them an opportunity to work with us. You know, our constituents want us to work across the aisle and have bipartisan legislation. We gave them that chance. They did not take it. All of the amendment ideas were voted down or fell on deaf ears. And so our only tool left in the toolbox was to leave the state and to block the quorum, which means they can't conduct business on the House floor right now. So we've been in DC for 2 weeks. We plan to be here until August 7th at midnight, which is when our special session ends. And we've had an opportunity to meet with a number of senators, congressmen and women, even Vice President Kamala Harris met with us. And we've sent the message that our democracy is too important to not do something in Congress now to help Texas and states across the country. Texas is not the only state that's having these bad election bills come to the legislatures. And so as we've been here, we have heard from a lot of other legislators, secretaries of states from around the country, all kinds of organizations, and we've really elevated this issue, voting rights, to the national forefront. And so we're hopeful that in the next 2 weeks, Congress can get something passed. We've been advocating for the PEOPLE Act and for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We've had a lot of good conversations. There's still some stumbling blocks to get past, but we are very hopeful that something will happen in the next 2 weeks.
Great. And can you tell us a little bit about what is your message that you all want to deliver to Joe Biden and other Democratic leaders while you're here?
You know, we would love to have the opportunity to meet personally, whether it's in person or via Zoom, with President Biden. We would love to have his help. We know he gave that speech in Pennsylvania soon after we arrived in DC, talking about how important voting rights are. And we know that he's on our side, but we need him to give Congress the extra push needed there to get something passed.
Great. And, when the special session that's been convened by Governor Abbott is supposed to end on August 6th. What's next in this fight?
We've been having some conversations about that lately. The 56 of us who are still here in Washington, D.C., just today, we're talking about what the next step is. This is a big sacrifice for all of us. You know, some of us have left family behind, our jobs behind. Since Texas has a part-time legislature, we really don't make enough money to survive as legislators. And so we all have jobs that we've left behind. And so being out of state for this long a period of time is extremely difficult. Whether we can sustain that through another week or two, or even another special session is yet to be known for sure. We have some strategies that we've been discussing to try to get Republicans to work with us. Right now, you know, the governor vetoed Article 10, which is basically he vetoed the entire legislative branch, which doesn't hurt us as much as it hurts our staff and over 2,000 employees in the state of Texas. And so, we believe that the governor can fix that problem. We believe that the Legislative Budget Board might be able to fix the problem. But we also know that there's some very serious issues that we need to get back and deal with in the state of Texas.
Great. There is so much support for you going on in the chat and for all the other representatives coming from Texas. We are so excited that you guys are, doing the good work that you're doing. And so thank you so much for joining us, Rep. Goodwin. We are so thankful for you to join us. And I'm going to pass it back to Mike.
Thank you, Representative Goodwin. The Texas Democrats are heroes. I'm from a state that suffers voter suppression, and here in Indiana, and we have Republicans on the march across the country trying to take away voting rights, trying to make it harder to vote. And I know what you're doing is brave and strong, and thank you so much for being an inspiration to all state legislators and all people who are concerned about our democracy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on and all the support that you've given me in the past. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Representative Goodwin. And I think we're still waiting and tracking down Senator Markey from Massachusetts, but I think we're not quite there yet from what it looks like. So I want to go from the State House down to City Hall. We want to now go down to Birmingham, Alabama, where one of our members, Eric Hall, is running for city council in the city of Birmingham. If you don't know Eric, you might remember him from a couple of our calls this summer and the spring when it came to the Amazon Union Drive, where Eric helped lead the volunteer community support effort with Amazon workers, was the leading voice there. Did a lot of great work. Is a longtime iRevolution activist. So good evening, Eric Hall. How's Birmingham tonight?
Good evening, Mike. Birmingham is fine. We're excited. Want to say thank you to our Revolution family for inviting us to be a part of this Monday night organizing call. We're running a campaign in Birmingham, Alabama on the side of the people. We're literally running to restore power back to the people. I often say that Birmingham is a city in crisis and we're in dire need of new leadership. Transformative and visionary leaders that's literally going to run and put people first, but definitely put the majority of the demographic of this city, which is Black and brown people. And so we're running to make sure that our people are taken care of.
And Eric, tell us a little bit about the city of Birmingham. What's at stake in this election coming up here almost a little bit under a month now, right? So tell us about the state of play in politics and organizing in Birmingham right now.
All right. So in Birmingham, of course, we're running to literally disrupt status quo leadership. And what we've had here in Birmingham, we have Black representation, but it's a sad reality that having Black representation doesn't necessarily mean that Black representation stand on the side of Black lives. And so literally, our revolution and Black Lives Matter and other grassroots organizations are literally on the forefront fighting to protect our people, the communities that are literally on the margins. Like many of our urban Black metropolitan cities, we're facing gentrification on steroids. A lot of our schools have been closed on our side of town. We have no access to hospitals. Indigent care is little to none here in Birmingham. And so we need some leadership. We need leadership here in Birmingham that's literally going to put people first. And so our revolution was we just led a rally this past weekend on the 24th, pushing for Medicare for all. Healthcare is a human right. And definitely everybody deserves access to quality and affordable healthcare. We're, of course, fighting minimum wage here in Birmingham, Alabama. The minimum wage is still at $7.25. That's a sad reality that exists. And so we're fighting to make sure that the citizens here in Birmingham, Alabama have a living wage. It should be at least $15 an hour. And so we're going to do all that we can to make sure that those who have political power hear us and hear us loud and clear that we're coming and that we're fighting and that we're going to make sure that those communities that live on the margins. I often always say that I'm a part of the community that's on the margins. I grew up in a very poor. My mother didn't have much. I oftentimes tell the story that my mother literally was a single mom who worked rearing children. She was an educator in early childhood education. And literally from 1980 to 2010 or 2011, my mom only earned $1 for every 10 years that she was working. So when she started working, minimum wage was probably about $4.25. When she retired, she only retired making $7.25 an hour. That's a sad reality that most of our people here in America live under. And those are the conditions that we have to change. And I'm fighting to change those conditions for people like my mother, who unfortunately only earned a very low wage that's now dependent upon the federal government and SSI, who got sick and didn't necessarily have the health care that she needed. And so we're fighting to change the conditions for those people and for so many other people. And that's why we're running this race to put people first. And it's going to start right here in Birmingham, Alabama, but we're going to challenge this state. And then we're going to work with our federal partners to make sure that we challenge, that we have the policies in place that's going to give us an equitable and effective and efficient government that we need.
Thank you, Eric. So our revolution is we're making a national endorsement of the Eric Hall campaign for City Council in Birmingham tonight. Eric's been a true warrior for our revolution and the movement, the progressive movement overall. And look, it sounds like Ed Markey is out there someplace. We're gonna try to get Ed on the phone. So one last question, Eric, for all the work you've done. Now, Birmingham is a special place. You know, of course, Martin Luther King wrote a famous letter, right? The letter from Birmingham jail. It is a birthplace of the civil rights movement. You're a Black Lives Matter activist. Now, what does it mean, you know, to you to be running in a place that is as important to our nation's country as Birmingham and at the epicenter of the civil rights struggle?
So I oftentimes say this, I stand on the shoulders of so many giants. Angela Davis is one. She's from Birmingham, Alabama. Martin Luther King and so many others. We have a rich history and legacy that exists in this city. And so I'm just excited to be a part of that movement and to keep this going. I oftentimes say this, from the civil rights era to the Black Lives Matter movement era, we are literally running to advance the quality of life for Black lives. And I do want to say this, Black Lives Matter is three things. It's one, it's an organization. Second, it's an affirmation to Black people that Black people are beautiful, Black people are resilient, and Black people are strong. But more importantly, it's a declaration to those who don't necessarily value Black lives, that Black lives do matter, and that we're going to push for the policies to exist to make sure that it reflects in the policies that Black lives matter. And so that's why we're running, and we're just excited. And we're excited to have this endorsement from our revolution. It definitely means a lot. And sure, I'm just excited about it. And I'm glad to say that when we organize, when we fight together, we win together. And we're looking forward to a win on August the 24th, 2021 here in Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you, Eric. And you know, you talked about your mom working so hard her whole life and never making much more than the minimum wage. And it's outrageous that the minimum wage is so low, and you know, our parents and our loved ones
don't leave and join.
That we suffer so much because of low wages. And your work on Amazon has been great. We're gonna be with you all the way. We're gonna help you win this election. Thank you so much, Eric, for joining us. And I want to go now. Thank you, Eric. Want now to go back to Massachusetts. We're going to be joined here very shortly, if not right now, by Senator Ed Markey, who's been on this call a few times, and both as a candidate and as a senator, and both at the same time. So cannot wait now to introduce the great senator from Massachusetts, Ed Markey. I think we might have a little bit of a technical glitch, so let's see if we can get the senator to join us. And he just popped up there in 1 second. I think we might be joined by a campaign manager or two.
No, I'm right here.
Senator Markey, how's it going tonight?
I'm doing great. I've been on for 25 minutes, but somehow or other, you guys couldn't see me. I don't know what was going on, but I heard everything that you've been talking about since about 25 minutes of 9 Eastern Daylight Time. And I love being with all of you guys. I love being with our revolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Markey. And, you know, there's so much going on right now in national politics, and especially in the U.S. Senate. There's a lot that you're fighting for personally. Could you just give us an update about what's going on in the Senate, especially with the recess coming up and, you know, this big budget battle ahead? What are you fighting for? How can we help? And what's at stake between now and getting this budget passed?
Well, you guys are fighting. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for everyone who was there. And thanks for the great fight you're putting up. I mean, we're at the dawn of a new era of climate action. And we owe a great debt to all of you on this call, the activists, the advocates, the grassroots army who brought us here. And I often say that the Green New Deal isn't just a resolution, it's a revolution. And it is our revolution coming from the grassroots in our country. And I cannot thank you enough for everything you do to fight for climate action and for the progressive policies and values that will make this a healthier, fairer, and more equal country. 2.5 years ago, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and I first introduced the Green New Deal and helped Congress and people across the globe rethink how we approach the climate crisis. And since then, people, especially our young people, have taken to the streets and the ballot box to make jobs and justice and climate action central to our political system. The planet is running a fever, and there are no emergency rooms for planets. We have to make bold climate action not only a voting issue, we made it a winning issue in 2020, and now all of these leaders are working to pass bold, visionary legislation. Climate justice is finally taking over the halls of Congress. And climate champions in and out of Congress are fighting for bills that have the GND in their DNA, bold, ambitious, transformational, economy-wide legislation with jobs and justice and climate at their core. With wildfires raging, droughts worsening, floodwaters rising, temperatures soaring across the country and across the world, we have perhaps the most consequential moment for action. Congress is looking to pass $3.5 trillion in budget reconciliation alongside a bipartisan infrastructure framework. Now, Republicans have been talking about an infrastructure package since Donald Trump was president. And they keep saying they just need a little more time to get the details right. We also know that Republicans have never met a delay tactic that they didn't like. And we have yet to see what this bipartisan infrastructure framework looks like. But we know we're not going to give them much more time. We're going to actually move in the very near future. And that's why I'm pleased to see Bernie Sanders and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and the White House commit to passing a $3.5 trillion budget infrastructure package, because that package is based on President Biden's American Jobs Plan and Americans' families plan, and we have to move it. And that is based, those two packages, on what the whole campaign of 2020 was about, from an Our Revolution perspective. And the climate and environmental provisions in this package are an historic down payment to really bring justice to our country. The budget resolution meets President Biden's climate change goals of 80% clean electricity and 50% economy-wide carbon emissions by 2030, while advancing environmental justice and American manufacturing. The budget includes a civilian climate corps, a program that I introduced with Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, which would update, modernize, and expand the concept of the New Deal era Civilian Conservation Corps, a 21st century CCC, which would employ and train a diverse and equitable group of Americans over 5 years in federally funded projects that help communities respond to climate change and transition to a clean economy. And have 50% of these hundreds of thousands of people come from environmental justice communities. And that budget proposal also includes a clean energy standard, which would achieve clean electricity, including pollution and equity standards, with carve-outs for environmental justice, and it targets clean energy investments to disadvantaged communities and communities of color. The budget also includes a clean energy accelerator, or a national climate bank, another bill that I introduced, and it's estimated that through a climate bank, $100 billion could be unleashed in communities all across this country in order to ensure that projects at the community level get taken care of with relatively small investments from the community. We're talking about a green bank that would invest in projects at the local level to lower the cost of solar installations for homeowners, provide lending for sustainable home renovations and retrofits, and underwrite clean energy upgrades. The budget resolution also includes hundreds of millions in clean energy, and vehicle tax incentives for wind and solar and offshore wind and electric vehicles, and it would end fossil fuel subsidies. That's the vote that we're going to take. It's time to stop investing in the dirty energies of the past and start incentivizing the clean energy technologies of the future. We can save all of creation while engaging in massive union job creation and having 50% of those jobs come right out of the community. And on energy efficiency, the budget resolution would fund weatherization and electrification of buildings, with union building trade workers, upgrading homes and businesses to help save families money on their energy bills. And the resolution includes climate smart agriculture, wildfire prevention, and forestry provisions to help protect our environment and create a livable future. And guess how we will pay for it? We're going to pay for it by making the wealthy and large corporations pay their fair share of the dues in our country, finally. And guess what? These kinds of investments in clean energy and climate solutions will lead to long-term economic growth. So the bottom line, we cannot afford not to make these investments. Now, I would have liked to have seen an even bigger number for the final package, but 3.5 trillion is an historic investment in working families, climate action, and our future. Bernie Sanders is right that this is, quote, the most significant piece of legislation since the Great Depression. And we know that Republicans and Mitch McConnell will do whatever it takes to block action. And we know that GOP also stands for the gas and oil party. We've got to repeal all subsidies for the oil and gas industry, but we're not going to fall for their lies, because the truth is right in front of us and we must act at this time. Dozens of wildfires are raging across the West, hundreds dead here and across Europe from record heat and flooding. No country, no community is immune. The planet is running a fever, as I said, and there are no emergency rooms for planets. We need to put in place a treatment plan for our climate, and this budget reconciliation package is a key part of that. And I believe that we have an historic moment right in front of us. We can create jobs and justice. We can combat the climate crisis all at the same time that we're creating the jobs and justice. This reconciliation package can be our country's pathway to recovery from COVID-19 and economic downturn and the climate crisis. What critics and skeptics called pie in the sky in the Green New Deal, when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and I introduced it 2.5 years ago, is now recognized as undeniably linked. Racial injustice, economic inequality, housing, education, jobs, climate change. It's all tied together. We know that there cannot be true freedom when people are imprisoned by poverty and homelessness. There cannot be real liberty when education is withheld or civil rights are denied. There cannot be public health when air sickens and water poisons. We need to take bold action and do it now. We must do what it takes to create the jobs, to render the justice, to ensure the livable future that the Green New Deal calls for. We have the technology to do it. We have the economic imperative. We have the moral obligation. We just need the political will. We have our charge. That charge was given to us by our revolution in 2020, and you continue to give us our charge. So I thank you again for letting me join you tonight, and I thank you for all of the tremendous work you do and all of the tremendous work you continue to do. So thank you so much, Mike, for having me and for everyone who's on this evening.
Senator Markey, do you have time for a couple of questions? I know it's a little bit later than what you expected to be on. Do you have a couple of minutes?
Absolutely.
Great. So one question is a technical question, and it's a little confusing out there, right? We're hearing this question about the filibuster. So can you talk to us a little bit about why this budget reconciliation process is so important because of the filibuster issue?
Well, in order to pass a reconciliation bill, you only need 51 votes. And that's what we're going to need in order to get this $3.5 trillion package passed. 51 votes. We can do big, big things with 51 votes. And this budget package is a perfect example of that. We just have to get everyone together. The problem is we also need 51 votes to pass voting rights, to pass laws that will be able to deal with other issues, civil rights issues, pay equity for women in our country. And the Republicans will not give us the votes so that we can have 60 votes to get it passed, which is the requirement in all of those issues. And that's why we need to overhaul the filibuster. We just have to abolish it. It's a relic of the Jim Crow era, and it's being used in a way that's going to block the kinds of progressive laws in 2021 in the areas of civil rights, voting rights, gun safety laws, LGBTQ protections that are absolutely necessary. So the filibuster must go, and we can see what we can do with 51 votes in this budget deal. And now we must act in order to repeal the filibuster so we can do it in all the other areas that we can so clearly see need to have new laws passed so we can give protections to everyone in our society.
Absolutely, Senator. So we can get this through with 51 votes through the budget reconciliation process. The filibuster can't touch this process. So we got to make this big and bold because, God willing, we're going to bust the filibuster. But, it's a little, but the other question I have here is I'm here in Indiana, a red state, very fossil fuel dependent. We're home to more large, dangerous coal plants than anywhere else in North America. And part of my activism before coming to our revolution was organizing a movement to retire coal plants. So we started retiring coal plant after coal plant here in Indiana over the last several years. And what I've seen a transformation, I'm surrounded by a lot of conservative folks who are like, we're confused about where we get our energy, where we're getting our power. And I know some pretty conservative folks who are like, yeah, I'm into solar now. I want solar farms. I want wind farms. I want to make this happen. So we talk about a bipartisan infrastructure deal for our climate. This is a win-win. Now, we might not ever get through votes, but, the public opinion is fully into this vision of saving our planet and, making sure we have an electric grid, not like Texas, but, something that's going to give us clean energy and a stable energy. So, just concluding thoughts on what's at stake, if we get this passed and if we don't.
Well, for many years, the conventional wisdom amongst opponents of a clean energy revolution was, you can advocate for that, but wind and solar, that's not the real answer. Well, just look over at Iowa from Indiana. 40 to 50% of all their electricity right now is wind. And they also have the most reliable grid in the United States. So we can do this. There's been a technological revolution. It's no longer the technology that's blocking the future. It's the politics which is blocking it. And we can unleash millions of jobs in every state, including Indiana, as we install this new 21st century era of clean energy technologies. And by the way, for Indiana, they have many auto factories there. We're going to have to compete around the world. China is already saying that by the year 2025, 20% of all new vehicles in China have to be all electric. By 2030, 50% of all new vehicles in China have to be all electric. Where are we going to make them? Indiana, Michigan, state after state, and make them union jobs so that we have them. We don't want to be importing them. We want to be making them and exporting them. So we need a plan, and if we do this right, we can ensure that the workers of today get the skill sets of tomorrow, and they don't just get jobs, but they get careers in these new industries. And that's really the promise of a Green New Deal, a promise of this clean energy revolution that we make to every worker out there in America.
Well, thank you so much, Senator Markey. Sorry for the technical difficulties early on the call, but your inspiration to us, your victory last year, kept us going. And, we're just going to keep on organizing and keep on fighting this budget. We're going to expand healthcare, get this climate legislation through, get this budget through. So thank you so much for your leadership and your vision for this.
And thank you to Our Revolution for last year, for what you did for me and the country. And thank you for what you're doing for the country this year and for the rest of all time. This is our moment. Thank you, Our Revolution.
Thank you, Senator Markey, and we'll see you on Capitol Hill soon as we fight together. So let's go back to Marissa, and let's go back to talking about our final step tonight, which is transforming the Democratic Party. So Marissa, take it away.
So I am super excited to introduce our next guest, one of our activists in Florida. Part of our work involves building a more progressive Democratic Party, and our members are involved in the state and local Democratic parties all across the country. And if you are involved in your local Democratic Party, you should tell us about it. There's going to be a link in the chat. You can fill out that form. And this week we have something super exciting to celebrate. One of several of our members in Florida have taken over the Florida Democratic Party Progressive Caucus. And here to tell us about it is their new treasurer, Corinne Daly. Welcome, Corinne. Tell us about what went into getting our Revolution members in Florida involved in the party.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marissa, and thank you, the whole team at Our Revolution National. And also just hello and welcome to all the people across the country and our comrades in the movement. I'm coming from Our Revolution Florida. I'm the newly elected treasurer of the Democratic Progressive Caucus of Florida. What we essentially did was we did a landslide takeover of grassroots organizers, people that are the people of Florida. And what we did was we organized and we won, and we're making waves already. We're very excited. We have so many women on the board. It is something very, very special to Florida specifically. We're doing great work. It's only been a couple days, so I'm excited. But yeah, really excited to be here.
That's awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about why you guys getting elected is a little different than what was there in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. If people have, Florida is one of those states that you hear about in the news. It's if you're here, that it's a battleground. It's a state that that progressive policies actually work with voters, where not so much that people are with a Democrat or a Republican. They're more on policy. So I think that what we did here was really essential to the progressive movement, because we were able to kind of come in and say, hey, yes, this might have worked in the past, but let's revisit some of these issues. And one of those things that we realized was that in 2020 was people in a landslide vote voted for Fight for 15. We were able to get more votes than Trump, more votes than Biden. And so what we're doing is we're reiterating that progressive policy message, because some people don't necessarily associate with a Republican or Democratic Party, but we're taking that time to say, hey, there's a trend. There's definitely something going on. And I think that in Nevada, we saw that, right? And so we essentially did what Nevada did, but we weren't as successful. There's always next year. But we said, hey, why don't we, utilize the machinery of the party? We can work outside of the party with Our Revolution. We can use all these advocacy groups, and we can work within the party, but where is that next step? And this was our step, and we're really excited.
Awesome. We are so excited to hear about all that work. So thank you, Corinne. It's so awesome to hear about the exciting energy in the Democratic Party in Florida. And we are so excited to have you as one of the leaders, as well as other Our Revolution members. And we have other ways for everyone else on this call to start getting involved in the work that we're doing. I'm going to kick it to Mike to tell us a little bit more about it.
Thanks, Corinne, and thanks, Marissa. And just a shout out to Corinne. and the Florida Progressives, they were in a very sophisticated, very awesome operation to try and take over the state party precinct by precinct and county by county, and they got so close. And we got to keep on sticking at it, right? Keep sticking with it, keep fighting. You know, sometimes we'll go a mile in a minute. Sometimes it'll take a whole year to go a mile. But Corrine and team and our Revolution Florida has been doing an awesome job. So thank you, Corrine, and everybody in Florida who just some tough treading but have stuck with it. And is what happens when you stick at something and keep on organizing. So thank you, Corrine. So let's just go wrap up the last couple of minutes tonight. We really want to hit down on the road ahead and what's coming up this week, because there's a couple of events that we really want to do well and grow our movement together, right? We've been online a long time. COVID, unfortunately, COVID's coming back a little bit with this Delta variant. So please get vaccinated, first of all. Make do everything you can get your people who aren't vaccinated, because we want to keep gathering in public and hanging out in person, because love the online life, but it's getting a little bit old. But this tomorrow, we're going to have an online training to expand Medicare for all. We want Medicare for all, but we want to expand Medicare. So like we talked about earlier, what we just heard from Senator Markey, we can win a better healthcare system in the next few weeks and few months. But we got to turn out the heat, turn out people. So join us tomorrow for a training on how we're going to expand Medicare for together. So that's going to be at 2 times, 12:30 Eastern, so we can have a solid East Coast time, Central Coast tomorrow, and then at 9 p.m. East, a little bit late in the East, but fairly early enough in the West that we can get folks from both places. So join us tomorrow. Sign up in the chat room. Please join us as we build our movement together and get trained up to bring this fight to Congress and into our communities.
And if you're ready,
sorry.
Yeah. No worries. And if you're ready to take action on Medicare expansion, we're hosting several events this week across the country, like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Arizona, West Virginia, and Oregon on and around this Friday, July 30th. So you can look at the link in the chat and find an event near you, or go on to our website, look at Mobilize. And back to you, Mike.
Awesome. And so look, this weekend, if you were there, it was amazing. AOC, Nina Turner, hundreds of people showing up to bring a victory home for the progressive movement, with Nina Turner's election again just a week away tomorrow, 1 week from tomorrow. And this Saturday in Cleveland, in downtown Cleveland, it is going to be a progressive Woodstock. We're going to have Bernie Sanders is going to be there. Our Revolution board member, Keith Ellison, the beloved civil rights fighter, civil rights attorney general of Minnesota. Keith Ellison is going to be there. Danny Glover, one of my favorite actors, especially back in the 80s, with some great action movies, a great voice for the progressive movement is going to be there. We're going to have Nina, of course, be there. Corey Bush from St. Louis is going to be there. So 2 things. If you're in Ohio or you're within driving distance of Cleveland or want to fly in, join us Saturday in Cleveland. We're going to march the polls, go knock a bunch of doors, finish this strong in Cleveland on Saturday. Throughout the week, there's going to be phone banking, and there's going to be door knocking, text banking. So click on the link below to get involved with Nina's the race to elect Nina Turner to office, to the Mobilize link. So you can help virtually, from far away, phone banking, text. If you're nearby, you can door knock. But just going to be an important 7 days, the next 7 days. And that is going to kind of wrap us up for tonight, I think. So I'm going to kick it back to Marissa, and the next 7 days, it's going to be complete fire. We're going to do some big things. So Marissa, why don't you take it away and close us out?
Yeah. So thanks, everyone. Special thanks to all of our volunteers and our donors. And if you haven't yet joined, you can click the link in the chat and become a movement builder. Our sustaining donors are what keeps our revolution alive and helps keep keeps us fighting for progressive issues. So again, special thanks to everyone, volunteers, donors, and everyone who signed up to become a sustaining member. We can't do this work without you. Before we sign off, we like to do our chant. So when we organize,
we win.
Woo! When we organize,
we win.
Awesome. Yay. All right. Good night, everyone.
Hey, we'll see you next Monday night.
Recordings.